I'm excited for fans to get to see this giant 4-hour movie that's completely singular to their investment. If you followed the first 2 movies, this movie really kind of takes you into a completely immersive scope and scale. It really does go as big as you can go. It's so epic, and it's such a giant world to dive into. So I'm very excited for the audiences to be able to immerse themselves in this 4-hour Justice League world and experience it in a way that they would never have gotten to. What does it mean to me that the fan community has sort of risen up demanding this version? Well, I only think that because of the promise I've made them over the course of the 2 other movies, it has created this movement that said, we need to know how it ends. You know, that was the fans' desire to see the world be richer and larger. And I think that I really took to heart because I wanted that too. My involvement with the DC world and with this trilogy of movies, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, now Justice League, started probably with my love of Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, as well as Watchmen, which came out around the same time. And both influenced me a great deal in, one, my love of sort of DC properties and DC as like the home of deconstructive, subversive comic books. It really influenced the way I thought about movies and the way I thought about storytelling in general. You know, I'd made films from when I was 11. Like, all I did is shoot films with my neighbors, and I just made these Super 8 movies. You know, we did like a remake of Apocalypse Now and a bunch of like, you know, it was always very, it was always super ambitious. Then I did have ambition to be an artist. I went actually to a school in London called Heatherley's School of Fine Art. And so I was really interested in the human form, and I think that it's made its way into my movies a little bit. Then I came back and went to Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, and that was really incredibly influential for me because it was a place where your own voice and your sort of vision was really cultivated. And so when I got out of school, I went to work pretty much right away making TV commercials and music videos. And I did that for almost 10 years. Job after job after job, and I really started to hone sort of the visual language that I find interesting. By the time we got to make Dawn of the Dead, I was familiar with the language of telling stories and shot making, and very, very much a student of sort of visual storytelling. So it was a natural evolution for me, and you know, to this day, finding the shots and making them and looking at watching it evolve and watching the actors, I get the same kind of excitement from it. And it hasn't changed at all.
Okay, so...
Because this will be, once you do this, you do I-beam them. You're going to have your run-in with Cyborg where you, boom, pound him.
Yep.
And then stop Wonder Woman from booshing you.
Yep.
Zack, he's got such an incredible brain for the visual. When you see him piecing this stuff together, it really does look incredible. And you see his concept stuff, you see him drawing his shots up, he has everything planned out in his head before we get there, and it's remarkable to be a part of, to see him weave this magic and set everything in such a way that it fits his vision perfectly.
Zack is as much of a fan as he is a director, and he loves comics, and he loves these characters. So for him, it's important to really make the world feel real and rich and true to the comics, because it's what the fans want to see.
And we've always learned something from a previous film. So watching him apply lessons learned or embracing new technologies, it's just always fun to see what I think is this incredibly strong artistic vision and have new tools to work with in that process.
So Zack, what's the challenges for you on this?
I want to do mediums in close-ups in continuity. So I would have both performances from the actors in a single take, so they didn't have to repeat it, so it could be more spontaneous. And then also so that as the camera drifted between the two characters, or the 5 characters in this case, that you could stay within the continuity.
The boxes don't think in terms of healing or killing, alive or dead. They rearrange matter at the will of their masters, regenerate.
I think if I added one more camera, it would have been perfect. There was one little gap that I didn't like, but I thought it was cool. Cut!
Cutting.
That's good, you guys. My normal process is I read the script, look at the scenes, talk about the scenes, create the scenes, and then I sit down with the script, and from page 1, I start to draw. And it takes me maybe 2 or 3 months to draw the movie. It's like a way to make the movie, in your mind, you've shot the shot. So when you actually go to film it, you're a little bit more comfortable.
I didn't want to lose the ball this time.
No, it's good.
You know, they're very good about making sure that we get exactly what it is that they've envisioned. You know, so, you know, the way they set up all these shots, it's so specific and so well thought out. All I have to do is just step in and breathe and be.
Everything that we work in, we're stepping into his drawings. And so you're like, can I see this scene before we make it? And he's like, sure. Beautiful drawings.
This is scene 132. Camera's moving like this, and we see camera's gonna come around. He's looking up at the mother box, and then it cuts straight to a shot of torch being lit, and then here he is cutting it, and there's the mother box being revealed. So this is me drawing the movie shot for shot, and that approach also allows for me to do the work of creating those frames that signal to what's to come, or straight up Easter eggs. An example is Lex Luthor in BVS. You know, his number on his jail outfit is a Star Wars reference. I know, it's dorky, but in almost every frame and in almost every scene, there's some sort of double meaning. And that could be Star Wars, or it could be Caravaggio, it could be anything that I frankly find inspirational. Another perfect example is the Superman S has a bit of writing in it, Kryptonian writing. And it's a Joseph Campbell quote. That's a summation of the hero's journey and kind of what Superman goes through.
This means something. It's all that gives them hope.
All those things are slightly subversive, but definitely with the goal of making sure that the movie have a deeper impact on you. And I think that the fans that connect to that, they take it to heart and they make it their own, and it becomes really personal to them, as it is to me.
You just have to decide what kind of man you want to grow up to be, Clark, because whoever that man is, good character or bad, he's going to change the world.
When I was approached by Chris Nolan to see if I had any interest in making Man of Steel, I always felt a great responsibility to make sure that it was steeped in mythology and really flesh out the world. For me as a filmmaker, and for me as sort of student of comic books, he's totally American mythology on like an epic scale. He's an immigrant and he's an orphan and he's trying to find his way in the world and what is his purpose. But is also just like a good guy from Kansas, and just how he interacts with the world. You're definitely finding the way in for a modern audience. So I read the script, and David Goyer had written a really cool script, and I worked on it a bit with him, and, you know, hired Henry, and, you know, the rest of that is history. Now, at the time, I did have sort of an idea that if there was a sequel, how it would progress, you know, because my thing is that, you know, you try and do all your ideas in the movie that you're working on, and if there's a sequel, then the uptown problem of that is that you have to come up with more ideas. But always with this eye on, you know, what would the world be? I think even in Man of Steel, there's a sequence where Zod and Superman are fighting just briefly in space, and they hit this, there's a satellite. It has like a Wayne Industries logo on it, because I wanted to say that, yeah, you know, it is a bigger world than just Superman. And then when we really started to get into Batman versus Superman, early on we were talking about, like, I was like, I really want, you know, using Dark Knight Returns as kind of like a template for the Batman that I really wanted to see. And there's a great Batman versus Superman sequence in that comic book, probably what I would consider the coolest philosophical confrontation. And I just really, we tried to steal as much of it as we could.
Men are brave.
Once you see Batman and Superman standing, looking at each other in a movie, now anything's possible, right? The world's finally like meshed up. The implication of that, of course, is that there's a massive universe that's just ready to explode.
Everything's changed. Men fall from the sky. The gods hurl thunderbolts. Innocents die. That's how it starts. The fever, the rage, the feeling of powerlessness that turns good men cruel.
I like Zack. He's got a lot of enthusiasm, and he's got this boyish kind of energy where he's just psyched to be at work every day, and I think you need that to get through a Herculean effort like these movies.
Ready? Okay, let's go. When I'm on set and we're shooting, it's a fun atmosphere for me. I mean, I don't want to say it's a playground, but it is a bit. You know, just over the course of making these sort of epic movies, you know, you get closer to the actors. I do count them all as friends, you know. I've known them for a long time, Henry the longest. So it's been a fun evolution, you know, and to see them from, you know, the first time we did the casting, you know, with Gal to now she's like, you know, the world's Wonder Woman in a pretty epic way. And seeing Jason's audition to be Batman.
Alfred, enough. The police weren't getting it done.
And I was just like, okay, that's awesome. This guy's amazing. I got to put him in the movie.
When Zack came to me, like when I got called in the room, I can't even tell you. I wish he had a camera rolling, because the last thing I expected him to say was Aquaman.
I'm such a fan of Zack's casting choices, and if you hold up a traditional picture of Aquaman, he might not have been the person that looked exactly like that illustration, but I think in spirit and heart, in terms of his energy, he embodies everything that Zack wanted to tell with that character.
And he told me all these ideas that he had, and I was just blown away. You know, what he was going to take, just the tattoos, and how he wanted to use me as the indigenous person, and he's let me incorporate a lot of my ideas into it, as far as like working with Michael to build the clothes, everything. It was an honor, and it's all coming together. How great's this?
Perfect. Yeah, I know, right? It's like perfect. Okay, also then at the end.
The cast is probably the funniest group of people you could get together in one room. I think everybody brings something very unique to the group, and just watching all the different personalities come together, it kind of feels like what the actual Justice League would feel like. It's hard for me to imagine it any other way now.
It's kindergarten here. Honestly, it's preschool. It's worse than preschool. You have Ray, who's very funny, but he cares so much for Cyborg and is like thinking in all different layers, and it's amazing. And then Ezra.
This is Barry Allen, AKA The Flash, AKA The Scarlet Speedster, AKA The Crimson Crusader.
Ezra's just a very unique actor. He's extremely funny. And in that wit and sarcasm, you get this great sense of vulnerability about him.
You can't stop the funk fever of The Flash, you know? You can't stop it.
And then you have Jason. He's making jokes, but then he's super serious, and he drinks Guinness, and he's just such a fun person to be with.
Yeah!
And Henry, he's so good. He's polite, he's kind. He's like Superman.
To play a superhero, it's not like any other acting job. You know, most actors, they come to work, they do their job, they play a character, and then when the movie's over, that's it. But when you're playing an iconic superhero, it's a bigger responsibility because a kid doesn't know the difference between, oh, this is Henry the actor and this is Superman. No, he is just Superman.
I've enjoyed playing that character of hope and optimism, inspiration and example. And it's just been great playing opposite these wonderful actors who do really embody their characters. They know exactly who their characters are, where they come from, what they're doing, and they've added their own flavor to each one as well.
And then you have Ben, who's super intelligent, super experienced, talented, funny in his own way. Again, more cynical.
He said he'll fight with us?
More or less.
More or more less?
Probably more or less.
He said no.
He said no.
It was just so nice, and there was never a dull moment on set. We were always talking or laughing or making each other laugh while shooting. It was just awesome.
Not that bad.
I think with all of these guys, I sort of cast them in their alter ego first and model that to who they are as people.
There you go.
Hello, Diana.
Bruce.
Ben's Bruce Wayne is like, in my opinion, like he's the most Bruce Wayne there is.
What are your superpowers again?
I'm rich.
So that allows the character, when you have to put on this kind of theatrical costume, which could really abstract the character. Because he's grounded, it allows you to like accept the superhero version in a much easier way.
It's interesting because pop culture has chewed up and spit out so many pop icons. And the Batman and Superman and a lot of these core DC characters still don't seem dated. They somehow still work in stories today. And I think that's just a mark of characters that are very well drawn. They still have this kind of resonance.
And whether it be Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman, mythologically what they represent and what they can represent becomes more emotional. It becomes more about sort of where we are as humans in this modern world. We're expected to either rely on our religion or we're meant to rely on science. And there's not really a sort of middle ground. And I think that comic books offer us this way of interpreting the world through these super versions of ourselves that are able to deal with the problems of the world in ways that are, yes, outside of our ability, but they represent some deeper psychological remedies to a lot of those modern problems.
And I think when times are chaotic, it's when we crave order. And I feel like that's what makes us relate to them so much. That's why we want them in our lives so much, because I think we all want a sense of order, especially when there's so much going on in the world out of our control.
And so I do take it seriously. And so when I make it, whether it be Man of Steel or BVS or Justice League, those movies all are steeped in that mythological approach. And you can watch it without thinking about those things, and it's just a movie, and that's fine. But I think these movies do offer the opportunity to kind of really analyze it from another perspective and really look at each of the characters as mythological archetypes that are telling a second story on top of the story that you see.
I had a dream, almost like a premonition. It was the end of the world. Barry Allen was right here.
You're right about him! You've always been right about him! Fear him!
In this movie, in Justice League, a thing like in BVS where Flash comes from the future to warn Bruce, that's a fun thing to kind of revisit and flesh out this giant world. I think the other thing, of course, is that, because there's no time restraint on the film, it does give us an opportunity to really see everyone fulfill their arc within the context of the movie. The emotional journey is there. And especially true of Cyborg, he really has a huge transformation within the body of the film, and it's awesome to see.
Victor,
You don't have to give me a second chance, but give yourself one.
But also, of course, expanding the world to include the rest of the Justice League and sort of examine their struggles. And then some of the newer characters we're going to get to see Iris. You're going to see Cyborg's mom, Martian Manhunter, of course, Willem Dafoe, Valko. Of course, Jared makes an appearance.
Isn't that right?
You know, I think what's really fun when you're creating these worlds, and Zack is such a fan of the comics, is to pick up the little details from some of the comics. There's just so much to explore. I think that that's really exciting to see this universe grow and this world get bigger.
You still think it was a good idea bringing him along?
Yeah, we have no choice.
Cut. In any endeavor, to be supported is an incredible thing, you know, and especially supported by this incredible fan base. They've really taken the movie to heart, and to be able to, you know, give them this movie that they've wanted and that means a lot to them, it means a lot to me. You know, the fans, through their charitable work, have donated so far more than $500,000 to AFSP. That's really important to us. And frankly, when I interact with them on a personal level, it's always fun to talk to them about the work and about the movies because they care about the movies as much as I do. They sometimes see things in the work that I didn't think anyone would ever see. And so there is something really satisfying and fun for me bringing these amazing fans a movie that they wanted to see.
There's an attack coming.
It's already here.
This really blows out to a much larger mythological version of the movie. These epic set pieces, one after another.
I'm putting together a team, people with special abilities.
And it's this amazing trajectory because as he was deconstructing the heroes, he finally gets to bring them up to all their glory. And it's really what he wants and how he wants to see them. And I know he's super excited to bring that to the world.
Kal-El, no!
It's a really epic gods fighting gods scale. So that's what I'm excited for fans to get to see.
I will stumble.